Buffalo Sabres have just missed the playoffs for an 11th straight season, the longest consecutive active playoff drought of any NHL team, and one of the longest in North American pro sports currently. Buffalo last made the playoffs in 2011, when Thomas Vanek was their team's leading scorer and Ryan Miller was their netminder, just a year removed from winning a Vezina trophy and at the top of his game. Since the 2013 draft, the Sabres organization has picked in the top 10 each of the last 10 years, including this season. Interestingly enough, 4 of those players selected are no longer a part of the team. But the good news for Sabres fans is that some of the players and pieces they've been able to acquire when dealing those former high picks, like Jack Eichel, Sam Reinhart, and even Rasmus Ristolainen, have turned into some really nice players and prospects for the future of their franchise. And although the first attempt of rebuild could be looked at as a major flop, in the last 5 entry drafts, Buffalo has made some excellent selections and finally appear to be building a team that could get back into the postseason after a decade of failure. So here's why I believe the Sabres' age of darkness should finally be over. One of the most obvious reasons for me is that they have officially moved on from most of their players in the previous rebuild, especially Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart, who were both second overall picks in 2015 and 2014. And the return that the Sabres got back for both of those guys was very solid. The notable pieces that they got for Eichel included former Vegas first rounder Peyton Krebs, who had 22 points in 48 games for Buffalo last season and should see an even bigger opportunity this year. They also picked Noah Östlund in the 2022 draft, the Swedish center from the 16th overall pick they got from Vegas in that same trade. And arguably the biggest piece of them all, Alex Tuch, the now 26-year-old power forward who grew up in Syracuse, New York, very close to the city of Buffalo. Tuch is a heart and soul type of player and came to Buffalo excited to play there and could end up being their future captain. In the Sam Reinhart trade to Florida, Buffalo would pick up stud goalie prospect Devin Levi, who won the Mike Richter Award for best goalie in college hockey at Northeastern this season. And they also picked up Czech center prospect Yuri Kulik with the 28th overall pick they got from Florida in the same trade. And they even picked up a first-round pick in the 2021 draft in the Rasmus Ristolainen trade, where they would select forward prospect Isaac Rosen, who would likely play with Rochester this season. And although this trade happened a while ago now, they picked up 6'7" forward Tage Thompson in the Ryan O'Reilly trade. Thompson, who just had a breakout 38-goal, 68-point season and is still just 24. He also has a lethal shot, and although I still think Eichel is a better all-around player, Tage is certainly doing his best to replace the production that Buffalo lost getting rid of Ikes. In addition, through the past 5 drafts, Buffalo has been stockpiling elite prospect after elite prospect. They've had the first overall pick twice, but almost all the other top picks they've had also look to be future NHL studs. The most obvious is the 2018 first overall pick, Swedish defenseman Rasmus Dahlin. Dahlin coming off of his best season, where he had 53 points in 80 games and made some spectacular plays. And he's still just 22 years old, younger than Cale Makar, and still just starting to realize his true potential. He's extremely skilled, and I could still see him having a Norris Trophy type season in the future. He's that good. They also picked Matthias Samuelsson 32nd overall in that draft, a big defenseman, the son of former NHLer Kjell Samuelsson, and who played in over 40 games last year for the Sabres and is looking like a solid shutdown top 4 guy. In the 2019 draft, Buffalo picked at the number 7 spot and chose center Dylan Cozens. Cozens progressed a great deal in his first full season last year and had 38 points in 79 games while showing up at both ends of the ice. In the 2020 draft, the Sabres would pick up 2 elite offensive prospects, choosing Jack Quinn in the first round, 8th overall, a kid that just dominated at the American League level and had 61 points in 45 games with Rochester. I think his game will translate really well to the NHL level. And they also got forward JJ Peterka in the second round, 34th overall. Peterka, who also played excellent with Rochester this past season and had 68 points in 70 games. And a huge piece of the future for Buffalo is the number 1 overall defenseman they drafted in 2021, the 6'6" Canadian Owen Power, who had a strong season with Michigan this past year in the NCAA. He got a taste of NHL action at the end of the season, playing 8 games, and looked very comfortable adjusting. He will be a mainstay on the blue line for years to come, and certainly has star potential. And lastly, the Sabres' first pick in the 2022 draft could be the best offensive player to come out of his draft. The 9th overall selection, Matt Savoie. He had 90 points in his 65 games for Winnipeg in the WHL last season, and he could be an electric player to add to the Sabres lineup in a few years if he keeps up his elite level of play. So as you can see, Buffalo has a boatload of young players and prospects ready to play in the NHL, or who will be ready very shortly. And while their offseason hasn't been as lively as some other teams around the league, especially some of those in their division, they have made some sneaky solid moves that will certainly pay dividends as early as this year. One big one was signing goaltender Eric Comrie to a 2-year deal. It was coming off of a strong season with the Jets where he had a 10-5-1 record and .920 save percentage. They also signed solid defender Ilya Lyubushkin to a multi-year deal and re-signed offensive weapon Victor Olofsson, who has a rifle of a shot. While the competition will certainly be tough in the Atlantic Division, the Buffalo Sabres are going to be a much improved team this upcoming season and look to be building a really strong roster. And while I don't think they will be able to quite squeeze into the playoffs this year, their playoff drought will almost certainly be coming to an end in the very near future. And for as passionate of a fan base as Buffalo is, I'm going to be rooting hard for this team that has a lot of very likable and fun players that the city will definitely enjoy for many years. Let me know if you agree or not that the Age of Darkness is finally coming to an end. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.